Hi there, I'm Jen, this is Remembered Reads, and this is going to be the Crystal Book Tag. I was tagged by Celia in May of last year, and so it's almost taken me a year to get to this. It is not the first time it's taken me a year to get to a book tag, but I'm trying to catch up, so here we go. This tag was created by Angelica at Angelica Coffer. I will link to both her video and Celia's video below. The tag in this seems to be based on the kind of woo-woo version of crystals and not the geological version, but that's okay, they're just tag questions, so let's go for this. Obsidian. Protects against negativity and helps stimulate prophecy. What's a book you knew you were going to like regardless of what others said? I mean, here's a book that I read that I think a couple of people asked me why I bothered buying this, because I bought this at the book outlet store here, and that is The Final Season, The Footballers Who Fought and Died in the Great War. If we've been interacting for a while, it might not be that surprising, because I am a fan of both. I'm a fan of the Great War, no, because I am a bit of a First World War buff, and I'm a sports enthusiast, so it's not that strange, but I feel like the stereotype is that this is what somebody's old uncle reads, and, you know, I'm not your old uncle. But I did thoroughly enjoy this book, so no matter the people that I was shopping with who asked me why on earth I was buying this, I loved it. And I knew I would, because these are two interests of mine. Number 2, Moonstone. Balances emotions and promotes a calm mood. What's a book you can rely on to help soothe you when you feel out of sync? And to be honest, I don't tend to go to books to feel soothed. It's just, I think that's more what I would go to music for. I'm somebody who needs to pace to become calm. If I'm stressed, I need to pace. I can't read and calm down. It just isn't the way I work. So I don't have a good answer to that. Number 3 is Citrine. Encourages action and stimulates creativity and self-expression. What is a book that inspires you? Yeah, the guide to drawing on the right side of the brain, which at this point, which I think is kind of a classic in learn to draw books. If you've ever been instructed to look at a picture upside down and draw it that way to improve your drawing skills, that's something that's in there. My copy is in storage, but the copy of the book that I have of that is something that I've had since I was, I don't know, 12 years old, so it's falling apart now. But I love that. I think you can look through that anytime you're frustrated with the level of skill that you have at something. I think it's very inspiring in terms of reminding you that you can develop skill. Talent will take you somewhere, but you can work and that will get you to the same skill level eventually. So yeah, I find that very inspiring. Next question. Rose Quartz. Releases toxic emotions and attracts love. What's a book that includes a beautiful relationship or your OTP? I always say this when there's a question about shipping, but I'm very neutral on romantic relationships in books, which is odd because sometimes I do read romances, but I'm just not that invested in them usually. That said, if I had an OTP, it's probably, you know, a one true pairing. It would probably just be because it's something I'm used to. So I guess my example is going to be Apollo and the Midnighter from The Authority and Stormwatch and The Wildstorm. Just because I started reading Warren Ellis's Stormwatch, was where those characters were introduced, and they just were together the whole time. And I know when the Steve Orlando Midnighter book was coming out, I was talking to the cashier at my comic book shop, which at the time was Bedrock City Comics on Washington and Houston for the Houston people. And I was buying one of the issues of that when it was coming out in floppies. And we were talking about where the story was going to go. And he mentioned, you know, whether he thought Midnighter was getting back together with Apollo. And I was like, is that it? And I was taken aback and thought, I didn't even think that was a question. I just assumed that was endgame. Not because I, you know, ship them, but because it's a constant. And they do get back together, so I was not wrong. But it was just funny that, you know, the cashier asked that. Well, of course they are. So yeah, I'm gonna go with them. Next one, Aquamarine. Encourages one to speak their truth. What book has a message you strongly resonate with? What message strongly resonates with me? I thought there was a lot of kind of poetry with stealth social commentary in Leanne Bedasamasake Simpson's The Accident of Being Lost, which is sort of short stories and sort of poetry and sort of song lyrics. Anyway, it's a great collection, but there's a lot of kind of commentary on modern Canadian social issues in there, which I did think had a lot of resonance. So, yeah. There is one story in there where you think a character is texting a friend and they're actually talking to Lake Ontario, which is very funny. Next up is Amethyst, which is my birthstone. Strengthens imagination and intuition. What is a book that took you to a whole other world or way of thinking? A few years ago, I read the memoir of the surgeon who invented the split brain technique that's used as treatment for epilepsy, among a few other things. And reading that made me spend about the next 3 or 4 months reading all kinds of things about different elements of neuroscience, just because it was something I hadn't really paid attention to before. So it was less a change of worldview, but it was more of a change of, well, I felt like reading that memoir, I didn't know enough about the workings of the brain. So I then spent the next several months reading other books about the same thing. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with that. I don't remember the name of it, but I will find a picture of it and insert it here. All right, final question. Is clear quartz master of healing crystals? This stone magnifies the properties of other crystals. What is a book that you think would empower others? I don't know. I feel like that just invites you to name a self-help book. Although if I was going to name a self-help book, there's a self-help book that's a summary of other self-help books, which is called How to Be Useful. And I read it maybe 10 or 12 years ago, I think. And I used to be very and I'm still quite anti-self-help book, because I think almost all of them, when you see those 15-minute summaries of business books being sold, I always think 15-minute summaries of self-help books would totally work, because almost all of them, and I won't say all of them because there are exceptions to everything, but the vast majority of them are things that could be summed up in an article, and you get a 300-page book of this nonsense. But anyway, that one was actually a summary of old self-help books, which is kind of funny. So I don't know if that's a real answer, but I'm going to go with it because I feel like this is inviting us to move towards that kind of answer. All right. That was the last question. The next thing is to tag people. And I'm going to tag the Purple Bookworm because she recently did, I don't remember which tag it was, but she mentioned that it was the first time she had ever actually been tagged by someone else, that her previous tags were just ones that she had seen. So I'm tagging her intentionally here. Yeah, and as always, if you are watching this and you would like to do this tag, please consider yourself tagged. Thanks to Celia again for tagging me, and and I endeavor to take less than a year to do tags henceforth. We'll see. I'm quite bad at being timely with tags. But in any case, yeah, that's it for now. Ciao.